technical session is digital strategy for CA firms. To enlighten us, we have an expert, technology expert, also income tax, direct tax expert, CA B.P. Kumar is Sachin Kumar is sorry. Sachin Kumar is with us. May I request our chairman to escort him on to us. Thank you so much. Friends, please welcome Sachin. Thank you, Chairman. It's my pleasure to introduce Sachin to this August gathering. CA B.P. Sachin is a fellow member of our institute, also an alumni of IIM Bangalore. He is a chief strategic partner of Messrs. Manohar Chaudhary and Associates, Chartered Accountants having office in India and abroad. He is a visiting faculty on the subject of taxation at ICAI and for many renowned MBA colleges in Bangalore, and also for Direct Taxes Regional Training Institute, Bangalore. He is a most sought after speaker on the topic Direct Taxes, Analytics and Technology by ICAI and many other forums in India and abroad. More than that, a fascinating personality, CA B.P. Sachin Kumar. With this brief intro, I present CA Sachin before you. Please welcome him once again.
Everyone. Thank you for having me with all of you today, and it's my pleasure to share some of my thoughts on this topic of digital strategy for CFOs. They say nowadays, if you look at, in fact, the more often Rafiq sir is going to talk about the data analytics, and of course the blockchain for that matter, the artificial intelligence, all these things which has been discussed since morning. You will find that it all begins with the data, including for us as a chartered accountants, you and I. When we go back to offices, we audit financial transactions, and financial transaction is what? It is a digital data at the end of the day. Financial transaction is what is data. So it all begins from data, and they say, thank you. They say data is a new oil. Right? They say data is a new oil. So therefore, I am sure briefly Nasiman was mentioning about when we were discussing earlier about the data privacy and all those things. For that, to regulate data, there is a data privacy law also has come. I mean, is tabled and it is there for discussion, and it will become a law very soon. And if you look at many of these credit card companies, like yesterday they gave a statement saying that they are ready with data localization policies and all these things. So government is looking at data being the oil. So therefore all the data that we generate, starting from when we wake up early in the morning till we go to bed, the Ubers that we use, the amount of the food that we order, the movies we go, the cards that we swipe, all these data has to be localized here in India. When government is looking at it, obviously data is oil. They are looking at a huge amount of monetary value that is being generated. Obviously, some of the tech giants are generating huge amount of revenue from the data that we provide them. So that being the case, when we are providing them the data, right, and because of which they are using that data and making money out of it, monetizing that data monetization is happening. My own question to all of you and to chartered accountant community at large, are we capturing this data, value of this data anywhere in our financial statements? Historically, if you look at, we had a historic balance sheets where we used to record historical transaction. If asset was recorded 25 years back at 1 lakh rupees, it would have continued as 1 lakh rupees. But then later on, audit standards came up and they said that no, it has to be devalued, it has to be valued, and whatever the current position we have those things I'm not getting into it. But the question is, now that we are in a digital era, now that we know that the data is a new oil, and we know that when we go to client and we go to audit, there are a huge amount of data that is available, and every data, my dear friends, has a story to tell us. Every data in an organization, if you are ready to torture it long enough, it will confess to a story. And that story is what is the value it creates. So one of the questions that we need to ponder before we get into strategy for our digital firms is, how are we looking at this data? So we are looking at this data as just another component of an organization, or is there a value to that data? If there is a value, if you think that there is a value, are we capturing that value? In any of the assignments that we are doing, including the statutory audit letters. Of course, there is no provision, that is a different matter which we need to discuss and debate, that's a different matter. But there are many assignments that we carry out, for that matter when there is a takeover, due diligence that happens. Are we giving enough weightage to the data that is available in that organization, and what we can do with that particular data is one thing that we need to really ponder over. Second, there is so much of hype that is being created about the technology and about the implementation, about the different types of technology, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the securities that is pertaining to the digital world. So much is talked about. So the question is, of course, we will discuss to what extent these things are going to impact in the panel discussion that we have later. But as a chartered accountant, it certainly worries us when there is so much is happening in artificial intelligence or blockchain, or for that matter, they call it as ABCDs of technology. So much is happening. Are we safe? Is our profession, what we are doing, is it going to be intact, or will there be a challenge? We will be challenged. This certainly is a question that runs in our mind. I think to answer that, before we get into again the subject proper, I think to my mind, as I said, CA firms, when we are looking at the way we do, the work what we do, I think will undergo slight change. Not that we will be challenged to that extent that we become extinct, but certainly the way we carry out our work definitely needs to be changed. How we have to change, we will look into it. But to begin with, yes, there is a technology, and there is a disruptive technologies that are coming up. And this being a disruptive technologies, yes, they will have an impact certainly on our profession. But then we don't have to really worry too much about it, as long as you are willing to change and adopt it. The only thing is, are we going to continue audit in spite of blockchain? Yes, we will continue to do audit, no doubt about it. But the way we do audit will undergo a change. Are we going to do IFC in spite of artificial intelligence? Yes, we are going to conduct IFC, but the way we do IFC for artificial intelligent, that business model is quite different. Now, as I said, for us, it all starts with data. Even historically, even before all these data analytics and all those things, historically you look at this profit and loss account in a T-form balance sheet and all those things, historically it was there for somebody to record. They used to record the transactions. And so therefore the recorded transactions were converted into trial balance, to financial statements, right? So at that time, the recording of transactions were explicit. We had to go ahead and do that explicit. So explicitly, when we were recording transaction, instead of 69, it could have been 96 as well. So this was manual earlier. It used to be manual. One is explicit, we had to do it. Second is it was manual. And it was an active activity we had to do. There is some accountant, he has to sit and he has to start feeding these things or record those things. It used to be that. With pen and a paper and all those things, we used to audit all these things, right? So now there has been a sea change from explicit manual active activity of capturing data to implicit way of doing it, and it is an automated way of doing it, and it is a passive activity. For example, if somebody has to order food, as a customer I will order the food, and as a seller Swiggy delivers it. Now sale is recorded, it is automatic for the Swiggy. If you look at many of those technology related things, artificial intelligence for that matter, there is a possibility which we will go through. One of the slides I think I have. As you know, you keep chatting in your WhatsApp, and if it is a sales related activity that you are chatting, and the minute the client says yes, I accept this, immediately a sales invoice is generated and it is immediately sent on a WhatsApp. So it has become today, or going to become soon, a automated implicit activity, automated and a passive activity. So what is the difference? Why we are discussing? Because when it was earlier manual and active activity, there used to be a chances of an error. When it is automated activity now, there is no chances of an error. So again, what is so good, great about it? It's good, no? Earlier what we used to do, because we had a huge amount of data that we had, and those data we could not process it. So there used to be a technique called random sampling. Take entire data and take a sample out of that data and run some kind of a statistical mathematical formula on that and arrive at some conclusion, and just because it is true for that random sample, we used to assume that it is true for the population data. So the idea there was, one is it was a manual activity, second is there could be an error in that activity, and third is the randomness of that random sample itself was questionable. Because random, it has to be random. How do you identify that it is random? That itself, even today, that itself is questionable. So therefore, whatever that, the hypothesis that we used to arrive at, the conclusions that we used to have, which is arising out of this random sample, may or may not be right applicable to this population data. But what has happened today, because the data is accurate, because the computing things are phenomenal, computing power is phenomenal, we no more work on population data. We never work on random sample, we straight away work on population data. One, this is very important. Second, see the statistical and mathematical, whatever the formulas that we have, which we apply, even for that matter average, when we apply, is a statistical formula. When we apply these things on a particular set of numbers, we derive some conclusions. These mathematical statistical functions are nothing but they are existential order captured by way of a number. Somebody like, Einsteins of the world, Newtons of the world, their entire life was dedicated to unraveling that existential order. apple fell, he wanted to know why apple fell. Entire life was dedicated to find out gravitational force, and then somebody was there to say that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So the entire life was dedicated to unraveling these things. And these existential orders, when they unraveled it, they codified it by way of a mathematical formula. F is equal to minus F. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Like that, various kind of mathematical formulas were derived. So therefore what we are looking at is mathematical or statistical formula is nothing but the existential order which we have understood by way of a plain English, which is an existential order. Existential order can never be wrong. Now look at it. We have an existential order by way of a formula. Earlier we used to apply that formula on a data which we don't know whether it is right or wrong. So whatever information what we used to get was not correct on the population data, but today it is not the case. These existential order, which is codified by way of formulas, are being applied directly on our population data, which is accurate. So therefore the results what we get out of it is absolutely, you cannot find fault with it. So therefore it is important for us that when we make the data speak, when we talk about, of course sir is going to talk more about it, when we make the data speak about what it has, what story it has, that story is what is required for you and I as a chartered accountants. Because as a chartered accountants, our entire focus is on tally or ERP system and financial records. This is one part of it. There are different verticals, different departments in that particular organization, and every department for that matter has their own Excel sheets, their own dumps, where they, and for a simple thing, if you are doing a statutory audit, internal audit, you have to no doubt look at it, your tally data, but if you were to ask them about dumps from each of the verticals or each of the department, and if you want to correlate with the data that is available in tally or ERP, you will be surprised. Lot of stories will be told. And for you and I, we have to comment on the existence of a fraud and error now. Only by looking into financial statements, I really doubt whether we can really comment on that. So therefore, we need to understand the importance of data. Right? Now, while we were doing the articles up to 1990 to 2000, if you look at, a lot of computerization were happening in CA offices. And I still remember my first computer in our office, 94, they didn't even allow us to touch. Pentium 486, if you know, those are the days. They never allowed us even to touch that computer. So we had to look at in AVE from a distance. Somebody really had to do it, and we had to give papers and she used to do it, and we were looking at that computer in AVE. Yeah, what all it can do. Like that, many other computers were introduced during that period. 2000 to 2010, if you look at, it was an era of not only computerization, but also era of ERPs. Many ERPs were there. So therefore, the early implementation of ERPs, if you look at, many chartered accountants were doing it. Many chartered accountants were involved in early implementation because functional knowledge was required for implementation, and we were there. So 90 to 2000, computerization. 2000 to 2010, ERP. When computerization and ERP integrated together, you have a huge amount of data. They generate huge amount of data. Now, this is the area. This period is where we are going to analyze what data has been generated out of these things. We have to generate, we have to analyze. That is where we stand. One. Second, earlier with that Pentium 486, I think I remember entire my articleship, 3 years we could only use that, and still it was, Fine. But how many of us can think of one laptop? And for entire office, I remember, entire office, all the works, we were there. But how many of us can think of doing it with one computer today? No. Right? Especially technology giants like Google and, they thrive on data. Facebooks of the world, Google of the world, they thrive on data, right? So what they did, from desktop computing, what we do, they went on to distributed computing. They had various computers networked, and these computational capabilities were distributed among all those computers. So therefore today, if you were to receive mail in your Google, Gmail, one mail may come from US, another mail may come from some other servers located somewhere else. So they had various servers and network servers. From there, the computational prowess was distributed among all of them. But then, that is okay for large companies. But a small companies, for a chartered accountants like you and I, we can't have those kind of a distributed computing. So therefore, there is a concept of what is called as now cloud computing. Since we can't do that, you can rent it. Those kind of server space, you can rent it. You have during tax audit season huge amount of volume that is going to come. You can increase for 2 months and then you can reduce as and when you don't want that. Whatever it is, you can do that. This is one of the aspects that we have as a chartered accountant to understand. Are we adopting to this? Are we looking at this cloud computing in our offices as a strategy? If you are not, I think it's high time. We must look at it. One of the things, one of the elderly chartered accountant, when I was talking to him, was asking him about, have you moved your data to cloud? And he said, no, because data, how do I ensure security? It is all quite confidential. All those things he was mentioning. But the thing is, if I have to look at it, whatever money we have, we deposit in bank, right? When we deposit in bank, what is the guarantee that it is safe? And we can expect that money to come back to us. No, there is no guarantee, right? So when there is no guarantee on that aspect, when it comes to the security of this data, there are enough controls are there. You have to simply go to the best player in the market, hire that services, move all your data to cloud so that you can start working from anywhere. And suppose you have an assignment which is data intensive assignment, very data intensive assignment. Let's say 20,000 pages of the documents you have to scan and you have to work, and then you have to come out with some kind of a report on that. It's a very data intensive assignment. Cloud computing, you can increase the the requirement for a few days, complete that assignment, hand it over to client, and then you can continue with your regular usage. So as a strategy, first of the things that we have to look at it, one is start valuing data, because every data has a story to tell. Let us not look at it only tallies, ERPs. There is something more. The data is there many places in the organization. Please start looking at data. Start valuing data. 2, these data have to be stored. Because they are invaluable, we have to store them. And store them in a place which is safe. So move towards cloud computing. Save your data in cloud. So how it is going to impact CA profession, whatever that disruptive technologies that we are looking at, what impact it has as a chartered accountants? Few of the things I have tried to put it, and let's see. I'm sure since morning they have spoken about blockchain, artificial intelligence and robotic, all these things probably, they have discussed about it. And of course, next session sir is going to discuss about data analytics. So with all these things, eventually to my mind, as CA firms doing this accounting and reconciliation of compliance services, only accounting or reconciliation or compliance services, I think they are the first targets to go. All these things are getting automated. And as I said, possibly we might be very good at audit, right? and we've been doing the audit in a particular way. With introduction of this technology, audit will continue still. We must do audit, but the way we do audit has to undergo phenomenal change. The internal control, what we understand today, and the internal control which are there in artificial intelligence, there are differences. What sort of a control system you have to test in a current situation or for that matter in a blockchain environment is altogether different. That maturity we must get. Going forward, if all the clients, now I think one of the recommendations of the government is to bring this GST, of course invoicing of GST. GST invoicing is one of the things. They want to bring the GST invoicing into blockchain. This GST is pretty close to that. While it is not a blockchain, but pretty close to it. Because they want to have a single version of truth there. What I sell as a purchase, what you say as a sale, both has to be same. Otherwise, there is no, right, that reconciliation they want to do away with, right? Similarly, if things were to happen, which is going to happen in income tax, we don't really have to file the return. Absolutely, there is no requirement. On the particular day, the income tax department will send you some return and say, hey, you verify this and sign it and give it. Probably it would capture the data more than what you know. You will be surprised, oh, have I purchased this? So to that extent, the information they may probably will have more than information what we have. Client, today if you look at all the clients, all our clients are driven by consumer-based experiences. For them, if they want to eat food, they sit at the cozy comforts of their office, cozy comforts of their home, order food. They want to watch a movie, latest movie, they don't have to go to INOX. No, their home theater is enough for them to give an experience more than your INOX experience probably. So probably they don't even feel like going there. And they want to move from one place to another, they have something coming to their doorstep to pick them up, the vehicle, and drop. All consumer based, our clients are being pampered with consumer based experiences. While they are being pampered with consumer based experiences, we chartered accountants still ask them to come to our offices to sign. You need to think about it. They won't like it. They may not tell you that's a different thing. But we must understand, they may not like it. Unless we adopt ourselves to a technology where you can say that, okay, you digitally sign, you don't have to come. If you need any clarification, you come online and clarify. This is what I think as a chartered accountant, this change we have to do. Another thing, we talk about when client calls, either we don't pick up phone, or if client calls office number, say that you are busy, or you pick up and say that no, I am busy, I'll call you later. You think client will like it? No, he will simply switch over to, there are many online portals which they ask questions. There is a robotic process which of course bots, they call it as bots, right? They will start answering the questions whatever client has. So therefore, they don't really require to come to you. If you start saying, no, I am busy, I can't take your call, you call me later. We need to really think seriously the way we have been carrying out the business so far and how we have to carry out in future. They need answers immediately. If not you, there is somebody else who is ready to give that answer. And it is a bot. And it is ready to give answers to the client. They have to simply ask questions and the bot is going to answer it. Why will they have to come to you? As I said, as we chartered accountants, as CEOs, we may not become obsolete, no doubt. But the way we do the things will definitely undergo a change. We have to become business strategists more than compliance agents. We have to become business strategists, help them to improve their businesses, give them consulting on a business, strategies, only then we will be able to grow in our profession and also tackle the challenges posed by the technology. If you look at any typical organization, a very small or medium firm organization, this is generally a technology stack for a CA firms. So if you have seen about 2 or 3 or 4 of those items, I think you can be proud about yourself that you are on the way to becoming a digital accountant. In our office, a typical CA office, if you look at accounting software, generally we use Tally or some of the ERPs, or for client interactions we have started using Skype or Google. For cloud storage we are using Dropbox or a Google, and internal communication we have a WhatsApp business user, and for meeting schedules we have used Google Meeting, Google Calendars, and for recruitment we don't really rely on word of mouth. We go to Naukri and we have become a member there. I have paid a subscription there, so therefore I get best of the CVs from Naukri, and if I have to do a tax research, these are the things that I have. Productivity tools, we have Winman, which we generally use, or these are all some of the things what we are looking at. These are all some of the things what we are looking at. Right? In a technology, as a technology stack for the CA firms. Now, coming to some of the uses for this digital, as a digital accountant in audit or in tax and consulting. I'll take 1 or 2 examples. In tax, simple example, let me take a tax. When my office manager goes to represent a case, one of the things we undertake as using technology for our tax representation is one simple thing, that the issues they identify, of course they prepare return submissions and all those things are separate, one part of it, that preparation they do. How technology gets integrated is, that particular issue, tax databases are there, right? From those tax databases they go through. If Bangalore branch has given any orders on this second level of, in that orders, if you look at even member wise, you can identify. So this particular case is coming before this particular member today. What is his view? Whether he has given any view on this, and if so, what is his view? He is favorable to this particular thing, I will go ahead. If he is not, probably other member has taken a different view, I will take a judgment. As simple as that. If you really want to, integrate technology into this, and this can be done easily. It's not a big thing that you have a tax database, with that you will be able to do it very easily. Of course, there are some consulting assignments that we do, and in consulting assignments what we do, you look at it, one of the things here. This actually represents hugely about 2000 pages of consulting engagement what we have done. It represents in this particular diagram, only one diagram. What it is somebody has given money and the person who has received, he has misutilized it by moving money to so many firms. And using this ROC website, we downloaded about 200-300 companies' data, and then we analyzed, we prepared 200-page report. But what is important is, when we gave this particular thing, it shows the flow of funds. Green means outflow of funds, red means inflow of funds, and the distance, related party, how close they are, all of them are common directors or few of them. The distance of that distance measures their closeness, and the thickness of that, here it is not visible, but then the thickness of that line gives the volume of funds that has flown. 200 pages, what we have done. If I have to, and when we put this before client, he didn't go beyond the first page. When this matter was taken up in the court, even the court judges, they did not go beyond first page. Was not required. What I intend to say is, we are being used to giving numbers when we talk about financial statements, P&L account and all these things, we are used to giving that numbers. Yes, fine, but in a digital world, you need to give more emphasis on the data visualization. How you are going to visualize that data? What story that you have to tell? Are you communicating effectively? Look at this particular thing. This is nothing but the components. There are various components that a particular company purchases, and from where all it purchases, the number of components are given here. The piping, heat exchangers and all these things, and the country from where they are getting it, purchasing it, and it is being depicted through this, and the volume is depicted, the number of items are depicted, which country, and this, if you have to go through the records, 2 or 25 pages records, this you can visualize all these things in one simple thing, right? So this is what is the strength of that visualization, right? And coming to, I think this we have discussed on being moving to cloud. So again, now, though in our institute says you can't advertise, yes, we are not advertising, but at least whatever we are good at, how are we going to share with the outside world? How outside world is going to know that what I am good at? I am extremely good at, let's say, transfer pricing or international taxation. How the outside world is going to get to know? They say word of mouth, no doubt about it. But then there is an effective communication media as well, social medias. Using social medias, you can communicate to the world. It is not, the best thing is even it is allowed by the institute. Right? Are we using it in our offices as a strategy for digital firm? If not, we have to really look at it. Right? And of course, even in our office, as an administration, this is one of the things that we do it in our office. We have developed our own internal thing, which we call it as MCA Connect. So if you look at one of the timelines, a particular week-wise timelines, if you look at how many hours a particular employee has booked, that variation, we will be able to capture it in one single slide. And a client, how many clients have been served and how many man-hours have that gone into that particular client, and what is the type of work we have done. That also we have been able to capture it. And this gives in a snapshot the control. You will have a control on your workflow management in your organization, right? And as I said, there are different ways of looking at it, your data. The best way, if you look at this, if you were to look at this particular thing, budgeted versus actual, how beautifully it is depicted here. You can give numbers, rows and columns, you can give numbers, but if you look at this, what is the budgeted, what has been that is achieved, and so this kind of a visualization is what, again, this P&L statement. Instead of that numbers which is down, the visualization which is there up, how impactful it is, that we have to understand. This is exactly what I was looking at the beginning of, I was mentioning at the beginning of the presentation, the pay. If you look at that sage.com, it will give you a phenomenal, it's a very interesting thing to know where our accounting profession is headed. So, to conclude my presentation, I would say what are the things that as a chartered accountant community we must look at. The first thing is, start valuing data. Let us start valuing data. 2, all the data that we have, start moving it to cloud. 3rd, it is use analytics extensively. Analytics is derived from this mathematics and statistics, and they are nothing but the existential orders. They can never go wrong. In fact, earlier people used to have grey-haired people in the boardrooms. Today you don't find grey-haired people in the boardroom. Today decisions are taken based on data, not an experience. Data replaces that experience. Data gives you that experience rather. It doesn't replace it, gives you that experience for you to take those decisions. Emphasize on visualization. Instead of simply giving numbers, can you give those numbers through by way of a visualization? Very small thing to do to begin our journey as digital accountants. Thank you so much.
Friends, a day may come, we need not file income tax returns. Income tax department may take the tax whatever due from our wallet. Hope for those days come as early as possible. And CA B.P. Kumar made digital strategy for CA firm simple and easy to understand. Please thank the speaker for his precious time and valuable knowledge. Thank you, sir. As a time to present a memento to speaker as a token of appreciation and gratitude, request Treasurer to do the honor. Please thank the speaker once again. Thank you, Srinivas. Now let us break for tea and reassemble in 15 minutes for our next session. Thank you.